Welcome to Read and Learn English. Today's video is not just reading and listening practice. It is something quieter, deeper, and more personal. It is a journey into the small corners of life that we often ignore, the gentle places where wisdom hides. I want you to sit with me, breathe slowly, and let your heart open as you listen. Because today, the world will speak to you softly. Since I was young, I believed that humans were the only real teachers in life. But as I grew older, I began to notice something different. Animals, forests, rain, even the smallest insects. They all carried secrets, lessons, and whispers that I never understood before. A lonely cat sleeping by itself. Frogs singing louder after a storm. A dog waiting at a door every single day. All these small moments were pieces of truth waiting for me to grow into them. Maybe you are like me. Maybe you are moving through life quickly, trying to learn, trying to improve, trying to understand who you are. But sometimes the answers you search for do not come from people. They come from the quiet world around you. A world that does not shout. A world that does not force. A world that teaches gently. In this video, I will share stories from nature that change the way I see life, pain, love, and meaning. These stories may sound simple, but they carry the kind of truth that only makes sense when your heart is ready. You may not understand everything today, and that is okay. These lessons will wait for you, just as nature always waits. So listen closely, breathe slowly, and let yourself feel every moment. The world speaks softly, and today, it is speaking to you. Chapter 1. Why Cats Sleep Alone. When I was a child, there was a cat that lived in my neighborhood. She had soft gray fur, quiet yellow eyes, and a slow, careful way of walking. I often saw her resting under the old wooden bench near our house. Every day after school, I would look for her. Sometimes she lay under the warm sun, and sometimes she curled up in the shade, but she was always alone. I never saw her playing with other cats. I never saw her sitting close to people. Even when children tried to pet her, she gently stepped away and returned to her quiet corner. To me, she seemed like a cat who enjoyed her own company. A cat who simply preferred the peaceful world to herself. Back then, I thought she slept alone because she was strong and independent. I believed she chose solitude the same way people choose their favorite hobbies or colors. I even admired her a little. I told myself, this cat doesn't need anyone, she's brave. But as I grew older, I began to notice small details I had missed before. Her fur was not always smooth. Sometimes it was messy or thin in places. Her steps were slow, not because she was calm, but because she was tired. And her eyes, though bright, carried a sadness I did not understand at the time. It took me many years to learn the truth. Animals often hide their pain. When they are hurt, physically or emotionally, they move away from others. They find quiet places where no one will disturb them. They sleep alone not because they want to be alone, but because they are trying to survive their pain in silence. Looking back at that lonely gray cat, I finally realized she was not choosing independence. She was choosing safety. She was trying to heal. And when I understood this, something inside me changed. I began to see myself in her. There were times in my own life when I pulled away from people without saying why. Moments when I felt hurt, confused, or disappointed, but I did not know how to explain my feelings. Instead of asking for help, I hid my emotions. I closed my heart. I avoided conversations. I told others, I'm fine, even when I wasn't. And just like that old cat, I searched for quiet corners where I could sit alone and breathe. Maybe you have felt this too. Maybe there were days when someone's words cut deeper than you expected. Maybe you trusted someone who suddenly disappeared from your life. Or maybe you experienced a loss that left a silent space in your heart. During these moments, you might have pulled away from the world, even from people who cared about you. You might have slept alone not because you wanted to, but because your heart needed time to rest. This is a hidden truth of life. Humans and animals are more alike than we think. We both hide our pain. We both walk away to protect our feelings. And we both need space to heal. You will understand this more clearly when someone hurts you one day. Not necessarily with anger or violence, but with disappointment, misunderstanding, or neglect. When that moment comes, you will remember the lonely gray cat, and you will understand why she slept alone. You will realize that solitude is not always a choice. Sometimes it is a gentle cry for peace, a quiet way of saying, "Please give me time. Please let me heal." But here is the soft and hopeful truth. Healing does happen. Just like the cat who slowly regained strength, we also return to the world after our wounds begin to close. We step back into the light. We open our hearts again. The pain does not stay forever. It teaches us, shapes us, and finally releases us. So if you ever find yourself choosing solitude, do not judge yourself. Do not think you are weak or strange. Sometimes the heart needs quiet. Sometimes the soul needs rest. And sometimes sleeping alone is simply the first step toward finding peace again. Chapter 2. The Sound of Frogs. When I returned to my childhood home after many years, the first thing I noticed was the sound. It was a warm evening, and the sky was slowly turning orange as the sun sank behind the trees. I walked along the familiar path that led to the small pond behind our house, a place where I had spent many days as a child. The air smelled the same, fresh, earthy, and calm. But the sound that filled the night was what truly brought me back to the past. It was the deep, steady chorus of frogs. Their voices rose and fell like waves in the darkness, louder and richer than I remembered. When I was young, the frogs singing was simply part of the night. I never paid much attention to it. It was just background noise, something that happened when the world became quiet. But as I stood there again, years later, I realized something important. The frogs had always been there during the most emotional moments of my life. I just hadn't understood it. I remembered celebrations, birthdays, New Year nights, family gatherings. On those happy evenings when laughter filled the house and people stayed awake a little longer, the frogs outside would sing louder than usual, as if joining the joy. Their voices felt warm and alive, blending with the excitement in the air. Back then, I thought it was simply because the night was beautiful. But I also remembered the storms. I remembered nights when rain hit the roof with heavy, angry drops. Nights when thunder cracked open the sky. Those nights the frogs sang too, sometimes even louder. Their voices echoed strangely through the wet air, creating a sound that felt both lonely and powerful. At times, I lay awake, listening to them, not knowing why their song made my heart feel heavier. Standing by the pond now, I understood the connection. Frogs sing in moments of joy and moments of pain. They become louder when the world feels more alive, whether it is alive with happiness or alive with sorrow. Nature responds to emotion. it reacts to the energy around it, and sometimes it reflects our hearts back to us. As I watched the pond's surface ripple gently in the evening breeze, I realized that we humans are not so different. There are certain moments in life when our senses become stronger. When something beautiful happens, like a success, a reunion, or a simple moment of peace, we notice the small details more clearly. We hear sounds we usually ignore. We feel the wind more deeply. We see colors more brightly. Joy opens our senses, but pain does the same. When we experience heartbreak, loss, or disappointment, the world suddenly becomes louder. The rain sounds sharper. The wind feels colder. The night seems longer. Pain awakens parts of us that stay quiet during ordinary days. It makes us listen, even to things we don't fully understand. That night by the pond, I felt both emotions at once. I felt joy in returning home, in touching the memories that shaped me. But I also felt sadness, because time had changed so many things. People, places, even parts of myself. And as these feelings mixed inside me, the frogs continued their chorus, as if they could sense the weight and warmth in my heart. In that moment, I learned a gentle truth. We hear certain sounds not with our ears, but with our hearts. The sound of frogs is one of them. When life is calm, we barely notice it. But when joy or pain fills our chest, suddenly the world becomes alive with meaning. Suddenly, every sound feels connected to us. As I walked back toward the house, the frogs' voices followed me like an old song I had forgotten. Their chorus reminded me that both happiness and sadness are necessary. Both emotions open our senses. Both help us feel the world more deeply. And sometimes, even simple creatures like frogs can teach us that our hearts hear what our ears cannot. Chapter 3. Why Dogs Run to the Door. There was a dog I once lived with, many years ago. His name doesn't matter, because what I remember most about him is not the sound of his name, but the sound of his paws rushing across the floor every evening. He was not a big dog, just a small, brown, gentle creature with soft ears and bright, hopeful eyes. Every day, at almost the same time, he would walk to the front door and sit there patiently. Sometimes he would lie down with his head resting on his paws, and sometimes he would stand up and look outside through the small gap under the door. He waited. Not for food, not for a walk, not for a toy. He waited for the sound of the family returning home. At first, this habit confused me. He could be playing, or sleeping, or chewing on something he loved. But the moment the afternoon sun began to fade, he left everything behind and walked straight to the door. There was no clock to guide him. There was no reminder. And yet, he always knew. Sometimes he waited for only a few minutes. Other times he waited for more than an hour. But he never complained, never barked in frustration, never walked away. He simply waited with the quiet confidence that someone he loved would come back. As a child, I did not understand this. I wondered why he put so much of his heart into one simple moment. Why was the sound of the key turning in the lock so important to him? Why did he wag his tail with such excitement, as if his whole world depended on it? To me, it seemed strange that a dog could care so deeply and so loyally. I thought it was just a dog thing that I would never really understand. But life teaches us slowly. It teaches us through experiences, through feelings, through moments that stay in our hearts long after they end. And as I grew older, I began to understand something I could not see as a child. There came a time in my life when I felt true warmth from people who cared about me. I felt the comfort of sitting with family, the joy of hearing someone say, "I'm glad you're home," and the peace of knowing there were people waiting for me too. For the first time, I felt what belonging truly meant. And in that soft, warm feeling, the memory of the dog waiting at the door returned to me with new meaning. It hit me gently, like a whisper from the past. Dogs do not wait at the door because they are trained to do it. They do not wait because someone taught them a rule. They wait because loyalty is not learned, it is felt. It is something that rises naturally inside them when they love someone. To a dog, the return of their family is the brightest moment of the day. Their hearts do not measure time the way ours do. They do not hold back love. They do not fear giving too much. They simply love fully, openly, and endlessly. Only when you feel true family warmth yourself do you begin to understand loyal love, the kind that dogs show so effortlessly. When someone makes you feel safe, you want to move closer. When someone makes you feel valued, you wait for them. And when someone fills your life with warmth, your heart naturally becomes loyal. Not because it is your duty, but because love pulls you toward them. Now, when I think of that small brown dog waiting at the door, I no longer see something strange. I see something beautiful. His loyalty was a quiet lesson that I was too young to understand at the time. But today, I understand it clearly. Love creates loyalty. Warmth creates connection. And a heart that knows belonging becomes a heart that waits, just like that little dog did every single day. In the simple act of waiting at the door, he taught me one of the deepest lessons of life. Loyalty does not need words. It does not need explanations. It is felt deeply and silently in the warmth of love. Chapter 4. The Mosquito's Risk. When we think of mosquitoes, we usually think of tiny, annoying insects that buzz around our ears and interrupt our sleep. We try to wave them away, push them aside, or hide under blankets. Yet no matter how many times they fail, they keep coming back. They fly toward humans again and again, even though getting close is dangerous for them. They risk being swatted. They risk being crushed. They risk their fragile little lives every time they come near. And still, they keep trying. As a child, I found this strange and almost foolish. Why would something so small take such a big risk for just one drop of blood? As I grew older, I began to see mosquitoes differently. Not as annoying insects, but as reminders of something deeper. Their persistence is not random. It is instinct. They are driven by a powerful need to survive and provide for the next generation. A mosquito mother needs blood not for herself, but for her eggs. She risks everything so her children can live. When I learned this, a quiet understanding bloomed inside me. I realized I had seen this kind of courage before, not in insects, but in the people who raised me. My parents were never perfect, but their love was steady, strong, and full of quiet sacrifices. When I was young, I did not notice the sleepless nights they spent worrying about me. I did not see the moments when they pretended to be strong so I would not feel afraid. I did not understand how many things they gave up: time, money, rest, dreams, so that I could grow safely. Like many children, I thought life simply happened. I thought comfort was natural, not something built by the hands of people who loved me. Now, when I look back, I see everything clearly. I remember the nights when I woke up sick, coughing or crying. My mother would get up immediately, even if she had barely slept. She held me, whispered to me, checked my temperature, gave me medicine, and stayed awake until the morning. I remember my father leaving early in the morning and returning late at night, tired but always smiling when he saw me. I did not know back then the weight he carried, but I see it now, the silent pressure of responsibility, the long hours of hard work, the quiet fear of, will this be enough for my family? These memories taught me something powerful. Love creates courage. Real courage does not always look loud or brave. Sometimes it looks like someone staying awake all night when they want to sleep. Sometimes it looks like someone giving their last piece of food to their child. Sometimes it looks like sacrificing comfort, safety, and even personal dreams for the sake of someone else's happiness. And suddenly, the behavior of mosquitoes made sense. A mosquito mother risks everything for her children. It is a dangerous choice, but love, even in the smallest creatures, has a way of pushing life forward. It gives strength where there is weakness. It gives bravery where there is fear. It gives purpose where there is struggle. One day, when you become a parent, or when you take care of someone you love deeply, you will understand this instinct. You will understand why mosquitoes take risks. You will understand why parents move toward danger, difficulty, and discomfort without hesitation. It is because their hearts are no longer living for themselves alone. They are living for someone they love more than their own life. As I think of my parents now, I feel both gratitude and awe. They were not superheroes. They were ordinary people with ordinary fears. But their love made them extraordinary in the moments that mattered most. And that is the lesson life whispered to me through the tiny wings of a mosquito. When love fills the heart, courage follows naturally. Love makes you move closer, even when the world tells you to move away. Love makes you strong, even when you feel small. Chapter 5. Why Pigs Fight for Food. When I was younger, I spent some time in the countryside, far from the noise of the city. There was a small farm not too far from my relative's home, and I often walked there in the mornings just to watch the animals. The air was cool, the fields were wide, and everything felt simple and peaceful. But there was one scene that always surprised me: the pigs during feeding time. The calm morning would suddenly turn loud and chaotic the moment food arrived. The pigs pushed, shoved, and fought fiercely for their meals. Their snorts filled the air, their bodies pressed tightly against each other, and the ground shook beneath their heavy steps. To a child, it looked rude and unnecessary, almost violent for no reason. I remember standing behind the wooden fence, watching them with confusion. There was plenty of food, enough for every pig in the pen. So, why did they fight? Why didn't they take turns or eat calmly like other animals? I asked myself these questions many times, but I never found an answer back then. All I saw was disorder. Stronger pigs pushing weaker ones aside, everyone struggling as if it were their last chance to eat. It didn't fit with the peaceful image of farm life I had in my mind. Years passed before I finally understood what I could not grasp as a child. One day, I learned that pigs have a sense of time that is different from ours. Their lives are short. Their days are counted by humans. Some pigs are raised not for long lives, but for quick ones. Deep inside, they somehow feel this. They sense that every meal might be their last. They sense that their time is running out more quickly than they can understand. Their fight is not about greed. It is about survival. And when this truth settled in my heart, I realized something even deeper. All creatures feel time running out, not just pigs. Even humans, who pretend to be strong and calm, have moments when they feel their own final day drawing closer. Maybe it happens quietly, on a birthday, on a lonely night, or during a sudden moment of fear. Maybe it happens loudly, during sickness, loss, or tragedy. But sooner or later, we all feel it. The awareness that our life is temporary. Mortality makes everything precious. When we sense time slipping through our fingers, our hearts change. We hold on tighter to the people we love. We fight harder for our dreams. We become more protective of our memories, our hopes, and our moments of happiness. Just like those pigs pushing and struggling for their food, we also fight harder when we feel the urgency of life. We begin to understand that nothing is guaranteed. Not tomorrow, not the next smile, not the next breath. I have seen this in people too. I have seen adults who suddenly become kinder after losing someone important. I have seen friends who chase their goals with new energy after facing a difficult moment. I have seen families who come together more closely after realizing how fragile life truly is. Pain, loss, and the passing of time have a strange way of waking us up. They remind us that our days are limited, and that makes every second more meaningful. When I think back to the pigs on that farm, I no longer see chaos. I see a mirror of life. I see creatures fighting not because they are wild, but because they understand something we often forget. Time is precious. Time is short. Time does not wait. And so, the lesson became clear to me. We fight hardest for life when we sense our final moments approaching. Mortality is not something to fear. It is something that teaches us how to truly live. It reminds us to love deeply, to appreciate the people around us, and to hold on to the moments that make our hearts feel alive. Chapter 6. Why Fireflies Glow Only in the Rainy Seasons. There was a forest near my childhood home, quiet and gentle, like a place that belonged to another world. I loved walking there in the evenings, especially during the rainy season. The ground was damp, the leaves smelled fresh, and the air felt cool against my skin. But what made those walks magical were the fireflies. They appeared only after certain rains, on certain nights, as if the world had invited them for a secret celebration. Their tiny lights floated through the darkness like falling stars that forgot to land. Every time I saw them, I felt something soft grow inside my heart. As a child, I never questioned why they appeared only during the rainy season. I simply accepted their beauty, believing the forest gave them permission to glow only on special nights. Some evenings, the trees were full of light, like a quiet festival held only for people who knew how to find it. Other times, the forest was empty and silent, and I wondered where the fireflies had gone. I thought they were playing hide and seek with me, showing themselves only when they felt like it. I never knew there was a deeper meaning behind their brief visits. Years later, after losing someone important in my life, I returned to that same forest. It was raining lightly, and the sky was covered with low, heavy clouds. My heart felt the same way, cloudy, heavy, full of a sadness I didn't know how to carry. I walked slowly, remembering the person I had lost, remembering the warmth they brought into my life. I didn't expect to see anything special that night. My mind was too tired. My heart was too quiet. But then I saw it. A soft light moving between the trees. Then another, and another. Before I realized it, The forest was glowing with fireflies again, just like when I was young. Their lights flickered gently in the dark, floating around me like tiny, silent companions. I stood there, not moving, watching them dance through the rain. And for the first time, I understood why they always appeared during the rainy season, during moments when the world felt quiet, heavy, and full of emotion. Beauty often arrives during sadness. Fireflies glow brightest in the wet, dark nights after the rain, when the world is quiet enough to notice them. In the same way, some of the most beautiful memories, lessons, and realizations appear in our hearts during the hardest times. When we lose someone who truly valued us, the world feels darker. Our days feel heavier. Our nights feel longer. But in that darkness, small lights begin to appear, memories, moments of love, things they taught us, words they left behind. These moments glow like fireflies, reminding us that even in sadness, there is beauty. I realized something else too. Fireflies do not glow forever. Their light is brief. Their season is short. But that is what makes their appearance unforgettable. They remind us that some things in life are precious not because they last long, but because they shine brightly for a short time. The people we lose are often the same. Their presence in our lives may not have lasted forever, but the value they gave us, the love they shared, and the memories they left, those things shine quietly inside us, long after they are gone. You understand this only when you lose someone who truly valued you. Only then do you realize how rare and beautiful real love is. Only then do you understand how memories can glow in the darkest seasons of your life. Only then do you learn how grief can open the heart to a deeper kind of appreciation. As I stood in that glowing forest, rain falling softly on my shoulders, I felt something peaceful settle inside me. The fireflies were not just insects, they were symbols. They reminded me that loss does not erase beauty. It reveals it. It teaches us to notice light in places we never looked before. Fireflies appear only in the rainy seasons, just like memories appear when our hearts are ready to feel them. And maybe, just like fireflies, the people who valued us never really disappear. Their light becomes part of us, bright, brief, unforgettable. The wisdom we grow into. Life does not reveal its truths all at once. It waits for us. It waits for the right age, the right moment, the right heartbreak, the right silence. As I think back on every creature I have met, the lonely cat, the singing frogs, the loyal dog, the risk-taking mosquito, the fighting pigs, the glowing fireflies, I realized that they were not just part of my memories. They were teachers. They were soft voices in a loud world, offering lessons I was too young, too busy, or too innocent to understand. Now, speaking gently to you, I want to remind you of something important. You may not understand these things now, but one day you will. Life teaches in ways that are slow, quiet, and sometimes painful. A lonely animal may show you your own loneliness. A faithful dog may mirror the warmth you once took for granted. A tiny creature's courage may reveal the sacrifice someone made for you. A brief light in a rainy season may remind you of a love you lost. Nature speaks, but it speaks softly, and we only hear it when our hearts are ready. As you move through your days, you will notice how your understanding deepens. What once looked simple will become meaningful. What once felt confusing will turn into clarity. And what once hurt you may eventually guide you. This is how wisdom grows, not suddenly, not loudly, but slowly, like leaves opening after a long winter. So do not rush yourself. Do not worry if you feel lost, unsure, or overwhelmed. You are learning even when you feel like you are standing still. You are growing even when you cannot see the change. You are healing even when the pain feels heavy. Remember this: nature is a teacher, and every creature carries a truth meant for you. When the time is right, you will understand. Until then, be gentle with yourself. The quiet world is teaching you, guiding you, and walking beside you, softly, patiently, lovingly, as you grow into your own wisdom.